Hello, and thank you for joining us. For the second time in 3 months, Congress is facing a fast-approaching deadline to pass a short-term funding bill to keep the government open. Lawmakers unveiled a 1,500-page, 3-month stopgap measure Tuesday. They have until Friday night to pass it to avoid a shutdown. The bill would give billions in disaster assistance, extend the Farm Bill, fund the rebuilding of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and give lawmakers a raise for the first time in 15 years. The president-elect and vice president-elect are also weighing in, posting on X, quote, Republicans must get smart and tough. If Democrats threaten to shut down the government unless we give them everything they want, then call their bluff. Speaker Mike Johnson would have needed significant bipartisan support to get it passed, since he was already facing strong opposition from some conservative members of his party. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke Wednesday to express his frustration with the apparent derailing of the bill.
House Republicans have now unilaterally decided to break a bipartisan agreement that they made. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country.
Meanwhile, CBS News has learned that earlier this month, the House Ethics Committee secretly voted to release its report into former Congressman Matt Gaetz. 2 Republicans sided with Democrats to make the findings of their investigation public. Gaetz had been investigated for accusations of sexual misconduct, including that he had sex with a minor. He has denied all wrongdoing. And President-elect Trump is again suggesting members of the now-disbanded House January 6th committee should be criminally targeted. In a social media post, Trump wrote that the lead Republican on the committee, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, could, quote, be in a lot of trouble. His post referred to findings from a GOP-led oversight subcommittee report released Tuesday that claimed numerous federal laws were likely broken by Liz Cheney and that these violations should be investigated by the FBI. Cheney has said the report, quote, fabricates lies and defamatory allegations in an attempt to cover up what Donald Trump did. I'm joined now by CBS News senior White House political correspondent Ed O'Keefe and CBS News political reporter Hunter Woodall. Thank you both for being here. Ed, with Trump now weighing in against the government funding bill, is there any chance of it getting passed?
As written with 1,597 pages or so, probably not at this point, Lindsay. The opposition was building throughout the day, first in the conservative media space, then with the conservative influencers, and finally with the Republican president-elect saying tonight he wants it to essentially be set aside, and they'd like, by the way, for Congress in 48 hours to come up with a way to raise the debt limit. You heard a congresswoman there in the introduction to the program say, why would we spend all this money now and turn around in about a month and start negotiating a way to start cutting spending? That's a fair logic that some might wonder about. But the reality is you're currently working in a divided Congress, a Democratic-controlled Senate, a Republican-controlled House, and that's the case for the next 2 weeks or so until Congress switches hands. So if they'd like to get this done before then, they've got to work with Democrats to get it through the Senate, or they'll block it. And if the Republicans want to start a process tomorrow where they simply extend current government funding till mid-March, about the 100-day mark in the Trump presidency, and try to have this fight then, well, then they're not going to get any Democratic votes for it in either chamber, and Republicans will have to do it alone. But as you played there are a handful of conservative fiscally conservative Republicans who say they don't like this at all. They don't like the idea of spending at this level. They don't like the idea of adding all these other things to it if that's the way they want to go. And so it could very well plunge things into further chaos and a shutdown. What we may see, Lindsay, is something that passes, say, for an extra week and pushes the debate to sometime between Christmas and New Year's. But this year, Christmas and New Year's are on Wednesdays. So do you come back for 2 days and have the fight, let everyone go home, then come back again on Thursday and Friday and fight through the weekend? Do you, just figure out how to do it so that you get it done before January 3rd when the new Congress starts? Or do you keep punting it until January 3rd and then let Republicans have the fight amongst themselves and completely own this even more? Democrats tonight are saying, look, if you're going to part ways with this bipartisan agreement that you need in order to get it through the narrowly divided House and through a Senate that requires consent of all 100 senators, those things in that bill are what are going to be needed to get it done. And if you don't do that, you're going to own this shutdown, not us.
So, Hunter, if one of these options that Ed just laid out happens, the chaos and the shutdown, what happens then?
That's the part here that is so difficult for members of Congress right now. We're a week out from Christmas. We're also just days away from this government, funding shutdown deadline. I believe it's Friday night. late Friday night. They have that pressure to get a deal through. They want to go home for the holidays, and this is that part that members of Congress hate when this happens. But this government shutdown crunch, seems to happen every few months.
But Hunter, we've been talking about this since the election. Why did we not see any text of a bill until last night?
Well, that's the part here that is so difficult for House Republicans because you saw Donald Trump, you've seen congressional Republicans complaining, we're doing all this to get and the Democratic giveaways they're saying. The thing is, House Republicans likely couldn't pass a funding bill on their own because there are just some members of the House Republican Conference who are upset with how this funding process works, and they're likely to vote against it in even a very GOP-friendly form. That's the challenge. You likely need Democrats, even in the House, which again is controlled by Republicans, to get a funding bill through. That's the challenge, and that's why you're hearing so much frustration from the GOP today.
Ed, one more in the weeds question that I have for you, because in a statement to X, Trump and Vance said in part, quote, increasing the debt ceiling is not great, but we'd rather do it on Biden's watch. If Democrats won't cooperate on the debt ceiling now, what makes anyone think they would do it in June during our administration? Why do they want to increase the debt limit under Biden's watch? I
mean, they have to, or they're going to have to take up draconian spending cuts that would be unpopular. And I think they want both parties to own this one going into the new year and going into a new election cycle where conceivably Republican contenders could run ads against Democrats saying you voted to raise the debt limit, even though Republicans did too. So they're trying to sort of have everyone own the sort of yucky thing they have to do, which is raise the federal borrowing limit even more. And they don't want to have to do it on their own because they may not be able to with the number of fiscal conservatives in such a closely divided House next year.
Yucky being the technical term. Hunter,
Exactly.
Let's switch gears a little bit because we learned today the House Ethics Committee secretly voted to release its report into Gaetz. What can you tell us about that vote and when we might see the report?
The timing here is critical. I mean, you're looking, just weeks ago, there was all this concern given that, from Democrats, given that Matt Gaetz, was Donald Trump's pick to be the next Attorney General. Even after Gaetz, dropped out when it was clear that he really wasn't going to get enough support from Republicans, it was unclear when this report would come out, if it would ever come out. Now, again, as we get up, against the holidays, it looks like this report could be released, after lawmakers leave town. Matt Gaetz, as I've said before, is not a very well-liked former member of Congress. He wasn't very well-liked when he was a member of Congress. This is a challenge now. House ethics people, as they look at these allegations, this is typically bipartisan committee. They like having these findings get out when they've done these thorough investigations, and they typically are very detailed. So when you look at this, work potentially coming to light soon, it'll be very interesting to see, what these investigations turned up.
And Ed, Trump is urging Senate Republicans not to strike a deal with Democrats to push through some of President Biden's final judicial nominees. We know there were some negotiations to push through a few final picks before the end of the session. Where do things stand, and could Trump's comment influence anything?
Well, it could mean that Republicans will at least vote no, even if Democrats want to move forward with this. The issue is there are a handful of district and appeals court positions that are still open and that for which the current president, we still do have President Biden, has nominated and would like to see confirmed because Democrats want to see as many of their picks put on the federal bench before Trump takes over and could potentially start putting his in place instead. Here's the thing. Absent any agreement to do nominees that are left over at the end of the Biden administration, absent a deal on that, only makes getting the start of Trump's nominees confirmed harder, potentially, for the Republican-controlled Senate in a few weeks. Senate works on consent and works on the idea that senators all agree to move forward on things. If the Republicans want to withhold votes for the Democratic nominees, the Democrats are going to withhold votes for the Republican nominees, and even the ability to start holding hearings on them early in January before the inauguration, which they can do because the congressional session starts before the new presidency. So, we'll see, but it's all essentially brinksmanship and a big staring contest to try to withhold as much more political capital from Biden and to shrink the number of accomplishments he gets done in his closing days.
Hunter, one more important item of business to talk to you about, this subcommittee report into the January 6th committee. What's in it? And is the report, coupled with Trump's influence, enough to spark an FBI investigation into Liz Cheney and others in this committee, particularly if his FBI pick gets confirmed?
It's been so abundantly clear, throughout this campaign season, throughout, the aftermath of the January 6th Capitol attack, there's clear discomfort amongst congressional Republicans about talking about what happened on January 6th. And, we just cannot forget, Liz Cheney on January 6th was in House Republican leadership. After what happened, she opposed Trump. She voted to impeach Trump after the January 6th Capitol attack, and then essentially sacrificed her political career, continuing to resist him, and eventually lost her congressional seat in 2022 in a primary. Given what we've seen, Donald Trump, even in the comments he made, today on Truth Social, he continues to target former Congresswoman Cheney, and that's that tension where Republicans, do not want to talk about what happened on Jan 6, and they'll tell reporters, they'll tell others, hey, we're looking to move on. But they continue to focus on things like this, and it'll be interesting to see, do Republicans really want to look at the past like this?
Is there merit to what the subcommittee is saying, that Liz Cheney tampered with the witness, that Chair Benny Thompson didn't archive material he was supposed to save?
Well, that's the focus that Republicans are making here is what's notable, right? Like they're continuing to call attention to this, and I think when you look at what's going to happen moving forward, do they want to spend, the next Congress relitigating this, going after this, and having this kind of spotlight on it? Because it'll just call attention to obviously the work of the January 6th committee, and that's the challenge for them moving forward.
All right, Ed O'Keefe and Hunter Woodall, thank you both very much.